Namaste, I am Dr. Sardar Patil. I am working with the Department of Geography, ASP College, Devruk. First of all, I congratulate the organizers for the organization of a webinar on geographical perspective of socio-economical future trends in India. Dear friends, I am an alumnus of the Department of Geography, Sripat Rao Chaugule Arts and Science College, Kotali. When I admitted to this college in the year 2002 for TYBA, I was a very common student, but today you can see me on this platform and the credit goes to my dear teachers and the college. Hence, I devote this lecture to my dear teachers and the college. At the outset of the webinar, I take an opportunity to extend my sincere thanks to Honorable Sri K.S. Chaugule Anna, the founder president of Jnanaganga Shikshan Prasarak Mandal, Malwadi. Honorable Sri Shivajirao Patil, the secretary of Jnanaganga Shikshan Prasarak Mandal, Malwadi. In charge principal Dr. B.N. Ravan. Sri Bharat Patil sir, head of the Department of Geography and co-convener of the webinar. I am very glad to convey you very soon he will have a doctorate degree. Dr. Bharati Shinde Madam, convener of the webinar, for giving me an opportunity to express my views in the area of geoinformatics for good governance. Dear friends, we all are the geographers and geography is considered as a mother of all sciences. Previously or in an nascent era, or we can say initially, the geography was dealing with the art of map making and description of the earth. But nowadays, the nature of geography has been changing with the march of time, especially after the evolution of geoinformatics. The nature of geography has been changed drastically, and nowadays geography has become a scientific discipline and it deals with 4 W's. What are those 4 W's? It includes what, where, when and why, and 1 H is the how. Hence, nowadays the geography is the discipline of decision making instead of map making and description of the earth. Hence, within next half an hour, I am going to deliver a talk on geoinformatics for good governance with special emphasis on village Panutre. Now, my question is, what is the governance? Governance means the process of decision making and the process by which decisions are implemented. Governance can be used in several contexts. For example, democratic governance, economic governance, financial governance, rural governance, local governance, state governance, national governance, international governance, environmental governance, etc. It is a very broad concept. We can't delimit the concept of governance to a specific area or to the process of government only. An analysis of governance focuses on the formal and informal actors involved in decision making and implementing the decisions made, and the formal and informal structures that have been set in place to arrive at and implement the decisions. Generally, it is mistaken that governance is the responsibility of government, but it is absolutely wrong, and I think good governance is the responsibility of all the actors involved in the process of governance, or I can say governance and good governance is the responsibility of all the stakeholders of the governance, and it includes civil society, army, political parties, market factors, various NGOs, cooperative institutes working in the rural and urban areas, banking and financial services at various levels, administrative systems of the government, law and order, and parliament. These are the various actors in the process of government, and governance may be a good governance if all these actors are working with the positive environment. If one of these actors is working with negative environment, that governance may not be a good governance. The process of decision making is generally influenced by various actors and various factors. For example, in rural areas, the process of decision making is influenced by the landlords in the village, then associations of peasant farmers, then local political leaders, NGOs working in the rural areas, community structure, I mean caste and religion structure of that village. It also affects on the process of decision making in the village. Then local relations, it means relation of a political leader with the persons living in the village. It also affects on the process of decision making. Then local influential families, some families are generally has hold in the village, and it also affects on the process of decision making in the village. Then local news reporters, sometimes they may create burden in the process of decision making. Pressure from member of Vidhan Sabha, Vidhan Parishad, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, etc. and community cooperation. These all actors or these all factors are affecting on the process of decision making. Sometimes at national level, there are media pressure groups and lobbyists are there. Some international donors are there. These all actors affecting on the process of decision making. In some countries like Pakistan, crime syndicates affect the process of decision making. For example, in Pakistan, the government of Pakistan passes the decisions generally as per the directions received from various terrorist organizations of the country. It is also one of the actors that affects on the process of decision making. In some countries and for sometimes there may be a kitchen cabinet and that kitchen cabinet has a control of entire government and the process of decision making, and the decisions are being passed by that kitchen cabinet and it is implemented by the government. Again, in urban areas and at the national level, land mafia can play a significant role in the process of decision making, and all these actors, that is crime syndicates, kitchen cabinets, land mafia, local influential families or media pressure groups, etc. All these factors are an example of corruption, or it may leads to corruption. Hence, we can't say it as a good governance. The development of any nation and or region depends on the quality of the governance, and the qualitative governance can be stated as a good governance. Recently, the Prime Minister of India, Honorable Narendra Ji Modi, has declared the birth anniversary of late Prime Minister Atal Bihari Ji Vajpayee, that is 25th December, as a good governance day. The components of good governance are: it should be transparent, it should be responsive, it should be consensus oriented, it should be participatory, it should be all inclusive, it should follow the rule of law, it should be efficient, it should be accountable. Then only we can say a specific government is a good governance. Preparedness to any disaster or any epidemic disease depends upon the quality of the governance. If the quality of the governance is very good, then we can prepare to any disease and any epidemic disease, and we can tackle all these worst situations very efficiently. Now my question is, why the administration and the governance of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj is considered to be great? Even in the 21st century, in the countries like USA, Canada, Japan, etc., the work of Shivaji Maharaj is being studied. The Shivaji as a management guru. Why it is happening? And I think the credit goes to information system of the Bahirji Naik. In any process, in the process of governance, information system plays a significant role. Now I am asking a second question. Why information is necessary in the process of governance? The process of governance mainly based on information system, and if any government or any system has a detailed information system, it may lead to good governance, and it is required for the purpose of planning, organizational setup, human resource development and retention, coordination, motivation, leadership, communication, control, and change in the policy and decision making process. For example, I would like to cite an example of the relation between state government of Maharashtra and central government. A very few days before, there was a news on various news channels that government of Maharashtra blaming to railway ministry that railway ministry is not providing sufficient number of trains to the state for the migration of the laborers. At the same time, the railway minister conveyed that the government of Maharashtra has not submitted the details of the migrant laborers, hence we are unable to provide the trains, because few days before the trains ran empty. Why it is happening? It is happening because of lack of coordination between these two governments, that is state government and central government. Again, why there was a coordination gap? Because neither state government nor municipal corporation of the Mumbai has detailed information system regarding migrant laborers, that is in Mumbai how many persons are migrated, then from which source region they have come, and where how many of them want to go back. This type of detailed information was not available with the state government, and it leads to coordination gap. That's why for good governance, detailed information system is necessary. Now I am shifting towards the core area of my lecture, that is geoinformatics. Geoinformatics is the synergy of various disciplines, and it includes remote sensing, GIS, GNSS, photogrammetry, computer science, geology, geodesy, geography, cartography, etc. Remote sensing is an art and science of acquiring information about an object without being physical contact with it. Geographical information system is a computer assisted system especially designed for the mapping, measuring, monitoring and manipulation of geographical data. Global navigation satellite system is developed for the navigation purpose, and nowadays it has been being used for taking ground truths or for the mapping purpose using GPS, that we can take point, line, polygon through GPS based on global navigation satellite system. Photogrammetry is an art and science of making measurements based on remote sensing data and aerial photographs. Computer science is the core part of the geoinformatics, and without computer science, geoinformatics may not be a reality. That's why computer science is one of the core discipline of geoinformatics. Then geology geodesy and geography are the core subjects where the applications of geoinformatics can be employed, and the cartography is an output of geoinformatics. That's why I told you geoinformatics is a synergy of several disciplines. The applications of geoinformatics are mainly oriented towards the problem of oriented towards real world management of problems pertaining to the natural and man-made environments. Geoinformatics has become an important tool for decision makers across a wide range of disciplines for research and academia, and it is being used in the all countries throughout the world. National organizations, industries and government agencies together with local and national governments are enthusiastically making use of geoinformatics in their day-to-day functioning. Geoinformatics has been defined by the various scientists, but in simple terms, I may define that geoinformatics is a science and technology that deals with the geoinformation, its acquisition, creation, storage, processing, presentation, and dissemination. Now, my question is, where is India? India is one of the leading countries in the development of geoinformatics, especially in case of space technology. India stands second after USA. I mean NASA. The ISRO stands second after the NASA. But in the utility of geoinformatics, India is lagging as compared to other developed countries like USA, Japan, Canada, or some European countries, etc. In India, Indian Space Research Organization, Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, National Spatial Data Infrastructure, State Spatial Data Infrastructure plays a significant role in the creation of geodatabase at the national and state level. But these organizations didn't attempt to create the geodatabase at the micro level, that is village level. In some states, village level data sets also is being created, but not 100% or not fully created. Also, the geodatabase of various utilities and the socio-economic structures needs to be created for the proper decision making process. In the process of creation of geodatabase through geoinformatics, a GIS software plays a significant role. There are two types of GIS softwares are there. One is commercial GIS software and second one is free and open source GIS software. Which GIS software shall we use? This is the major question, and if you have some financial budget or financial assistance, you may go for some commercial GIS softwares, and it includes ArcGIS, GeoMedia, MapInfo Professional, ADAS Imagine, Global Mapper, Manifold GIS, Gram++, etc. There are so many other commercial softwares are also there. Some softwares are application specific, and you may find the details of the commercial GIS softwares on gisgeography.com website. In case of free and open source GIS software, Quantum GIS, that is QGIS, is one of the leading software, and it has an ability to manage all or to perform all the activities that we can perform in ArcGIS. Then system for automated geoscientific analysis, that is SAGA, is a image analysis software. Again, ILWIS, that is integrated land and water information system, is also an image analysis software. OpenJump, Java Unified Mapping Platform, GRASS, Geographic Resource Analysis Support System, Diva GIS, Geoda, etc. These all are the free and open source softwares freely available to download from the internet. But I would like to talk more about DivaGIS. If you go to internet on DivaGIS, and from there you can download the shape files of drainage network, road network, political boundaries of various taluka, districts, states, countries for all the world, and the list of free and open source GIS softwares you may find on gisgeography.com website. GPS plays a significant role in the process of geodatabase creation, because remote sensing is a source of information or source of data, but it has certain limitations. GIS can be used as a tool of data analysis, for sometimes some data needs to be validated, and for the validation purpose, and sometimes for the collection of some primary data, point, line, polygon data, GPS is essential. But handheld GPS may not be provide much more accuracy. Nowadays the price of handheld GPS is ranging between 15,000 to some lakhs. If you purchase the GPS of rupees 50,000, then that GPS may provide an accuracy of up to 10 meter only. But nowadays the mobile technology has evolved and changed drastically. Play Store provides us various apps, and among that some GPS apps may provide you an accuracy up to 1 to 3 meters. In that connection, I would like to suggest you or recommend you GPS Essential app. You go to your Play Store of your mobile and download this GPS Essential app. From there this window will be open for you, and from waypoint marking you may mark the point, line, polygon of your area of interest. I am not going into detail due to time limitations set by the organizers. I would just like to convey you, kindly visit this YouTube channel. There you will find how to download, how to install, and how to do the necessary settings in the app for getting more quality data. Some mobiles have more accuracy, and in that mobiles this app may provide an accuracy up to 1 meter also, and it can be used for the creation of geodatabase. Then applications of geoinformatics. Before going to analyze an applications of geoinformatics, I would like to share an experience with you. In 2013, I was in Nainital University at Almora campus for a refresher course in GIS. At that time, the faculty members with the background from sociology, economics, geography, botany, zoology, chemistry, etc. Various faculty members, around 40 faculty members were participated in that GIS course. One day, a faculty with the background of sociology asked to the expert that in case of Maharashtra, every year farmers commit suicides. Now my question is, how we can stop the suicides of the farmers? All the other faculty members, participants, laughed loudly, but the expert was the expert, and he told that yes, we can use geoinformatics to control the suicides of the farmers. For that we need to calculate an NDVI, that is normalized differentiation vegetation index, and NDVI will provide us an information of intensity of droughtness. If the intensity of droughtness is very high, then the concerned state government may issue an order to local government that nowadays the intensity of drought is very high, then kindly arrange awareness programs for the farmers. Again, state government may start some developmental programs in such areas that may create employment opportunities to the farmers, and the farmers may not commit the suicide. Why I have shared this experience with you? Because I am of the opinion that the applications of geoinformatics starts with your thinking and stops with your thinking. Hence, I would like to share you that it has n number of applications. Generally, in the area of resource management, land use planning, agriculture, forestry, water resource management, rural and urban planning, environmental management, risk management, business marketing, real estate, facility mapping, geoinformatics is widely used. I am not going into detail because I have to finish my lecture within 45 minutes. That's why I would only give a touch up to the applications of geoinformatics. Again, in the area of transportation management, telecommunication, mining, defense, emergency operations, crime management, health geography, archaeology, etc., the geoinformatics is widely used throughout the world. And with reference to current COVID-19 situation, the applications of geoinformatics in the area of health geography has got more value. Now my question is, why geoinformatics? Because it provides more accuracy as compared to traditional methodologies of data analysis. Then it has an ability to manage spatial and non-spatial data. For the decision making, we need to correlate spatial and non-spatial data. Then only we can take proper decisions. That is one of the application. That's why we need to use geoinformatics. Again, low chance for corruption. You may thinking that how it is possible. Local government receives the grants from central and state government. For example, under the integrated watershed management program, the local government of villages receives lakhs of rupees every year. In most of the villages, none work is done, and that money is put into the pocket of the political leaders or local officers. They are showing that work has been done on the same land parcel for years and years. That's why they may be able to manage the money and they can put that money into their own pocket. But if we use geoinformatics to show the land parcels where work has been carried out, at that time the local political leaders and local administrative officers may not be able to manage, and they may not be do corruption. Then that's why I told you low chance for corruption. It supports in the process of decision making. We will see in the next part of the lecture. Then analyze more data in less time. Suppose there is a data with lakhs of rows and lakhs of columns. At that time, that data also may be analyzed within a fraction of minutes. That's why we need to use geoinformatics. Every data has spatial extension or relation. Without spatial relation or extension, data is not present, and we need to use that data set for the process of decision making. Also, it is helpful in disaster management. It is helpful for the preparedness of any disaster or any epidemic or disease. It is helpful in the planning and management, and it is useful for an estimation. For example, in rural areas, we can estimate the crop production, We can estimate the solar energy potential, we can estimate wind energy potential, etc. It has a number of applications. These are the plus points. That's why we need to use geoinformatics for decision making. Again, geoinformatics has certain limitations, and first is GIGO. This is the limitation of computer technology, and that is same applicable for geoinformatics. That is garbage in, garbage out. Sometimes people are providing very wrong information, and wrong information leads to wrong decisions also. Sometimes a person who is going to enter the data set into system, that may enter wrong information or false information. It may also create false decisions. That's why I told you GIGO is the major limitation of geoinformatics. Then lack of trained persons. Nowadays there are trained persons in the area of geoinformatics, but most of the persons belongs to chemistry, botany, computer science and other backgrounds. Very few geographers are very powerfully trained in this technology. That is the limitation to use geoinformatics for decision making at micro level. Then lack of sufficient proper knowledge. Again, I would like to share an experience with you. In 2015, I was in Dehradun for 2 months certificate course in geoinformatics for rural and urban planning. At that time, I met one architecture. He came to me and he told that this geoinformatics is useless, it is a garbage, and it provides very false information. I asked him, why you are making comments like this? He told that it is showing very false information. Contours are in minus. I asked him, what does mean by contours? He told, don't know. The person who don't know what does mean by contour, he was generating the contours. It is the reality, and that's why I told you lack of sufficient proper knowledge. Actually, what was happened with him, he was generating the contours of coastal area, and the land parcel which was below the mean sea level, that was showing in minus. Then lack of political determination. If we want to create geodatabase for decision making at micro level, then there should be a political determination, but generally there is a lack of political determination at local level, because it may control the proportion of corruption, and it is not suitable for the local political leaders. Again, it is time consuming at the initial stage. Initially we require much more time. I have created geodatabase of village Panutre. I spent my 2 years just for the initial processing, and even I couldn't complete that project 100% due to lack of political determination of the village. While preparing or creating a G-governance setup, some aspects we need to take into consideration, and it includes land use land cover analysis, some social aspects, some economic aspects, and we may need to create a specialized GIS platform like land information system, rural information system, disaster information system, demographic information system, economic information system, environmental information system, etc. As per the applications, we need to create a specialized GIS platform. Now, I already told you that I tried to create a geodatabase for the village Panutre for good governance. Village Panutre is located on the left bank of river Dhamni. It is a tributary of river Panchganga. It is located in the southwestern part of Panala Tahsil of Kolhapur district. I am very much interested in geoinformatics. In 2013, I thought that I should create a geodatabase for good governance purpose, or that may be useful in the process of governance. Hence, I have selected my village. I took this map from Gram Panchayat office, scanned it 300 dpi, and after that with the help of students created the spatial layer, that is each and every land parcel of the village is digitized and put it into digital format. After the initial work of digitization, I have collected the data sets of non-spatial information, and at that time I selected these points, that is survey number of each and every land parcel that was available on the map itself, but other information I have collected through fieldwork or from the Talati office, that is name of the current owner, then type of ownership, previous owner if any, date of purchase, date of reward, date of ownership transfers, etc. Then name of the area, because in that village, and it happens with all the villages, that every land parcel has some names, that is Kumbarki, Mal, Mala, etc. Then adjoining owners, if we consider a specific land parcel, at that time who are the adjoining owners are there, because it is useful for the decision making in future. Then land use type, either it is forest land, fallow land, agricultural land, etc. That type of land use type data has been collected through fieldwork. Then irrigated, unirrigated information. If irrigated, what is the source of irrigation? Then soil structure of the specific land parcel, then soil texture of the land parcel, then year wise cropping details. I take these details from the office of Talati, but I am very sorry to say that the Talati office has not the correct information, because sometimes farmers may provide wrong information to the Talati to save the money of taxes. Then connectivity details, that is either any road network available to that land parcel, that data set also collected. Then area, that is how much area of that specific land parcel. Then perimeter and length of sides, number of dependents of the owner, then slope, etc. These components or these non-spatial data sets I have collected for the process of decision making. Now we can use these details for the process of decision making. Suppose government has issued a circular that kindly provide the information of land parcels in your village which has area less than a hectare. For that I have made a query, area is equal to less than 1 hectare, and automatically the land parcels which have area less than 1 hectare is being shown here with yellow color. If we open the attribute table, automatically the detail list with the details of survey number, name of the current owner, type of ownership, etc. Then soil structure, texture, area, slope, etc. may be available in attribute table. That is the application of the creation of geodatabase for a village at micro level for cadastral mapping. Then suppose a person or a decision maker want to identify which is the largest land parcel in that village, and here I have selected this land parcel is the largest land parcel with the area of around 47 hectare. Again irrigation information, how many land parcels are there in the village which are unirrigated. That information also may be dragged, may be extracted with this system. Then suppose we want to extract the owner information, and the government has restricted that every person should not have land on his name more than 8 acres, or you consider 2 hectares, 3 hectares. At that time this information may be useful to take the decisions. Here I have given query, special query, that owner is equal to owner is Ananda Patil, and automatically the map is showing how much land is on the name of Ananda Patil. Then for the extraction of land use, also we can make multiple queries, that owner is X, land use is Y, irrigation is Z, for example I am saying. Then automatically it will show the information, the related information, and we can use that spatial and non-spatial information for the purpose of decision making. This is related to cadastral mapping, that is mapping the land parcels of the village for the purpose of decision making. For decision making, a detailed decision making in the villages, along with land parcel mapping, mapping of the socio-economic information is also required. Hence for the mapping of socio-economic information, some spatial layers, because I already conveyed you that every data has spatial extension or spatial relation. That's why without the creation of spatial data set, we can't link non-spatial data set into geoinformatics. That's why we need to map the buildings of that village. Then what are the infrastructure facilities available and resources available in the village, we should map that components also in geoinformatics. And mapping of the amenities, these are the spatial information required for the creation of socio-economic geodatabase for decision making. Non-spatial information related to socio-economic components includes personal information, social information, economic information, and health information. In personal information, we may collect the data set of name, gender, date of birth, Aadhaar number, PAN number, address, blood groups, marital status, number of dependents, name of the children, name of the spouse, native place, education, languages, reading, speaking, writing, personal occupation, service details, migration details, etc. These points I have selected at the time of collecting data from the village, but I am very sorry to say that I couldn't complete this work due to non-cooperation from the Gram Panchayat office. Again, some social information, it includes family type, number of persons in the family, number of males in the family, number of females in the family, category, caste, religion, personal details of all family members, participation in politics, then participation in NGOs, etc., vehicle details, infrastructure details, details of the other amenities with the house, sanitary facility details, electricity connection details, gas connection details, renewable energy details, etc. information may be collected under the social information, because it is being going to be used in the process of decision making. I will show you how we can use these details for decision making process. Under economic information, economic status, number of employed persons in the family, number of unemployed persons in the family, family occupation, annual family income, annual personal income of the family members, housing details, etc. information needs to be collected, and last, health information, that is individual health related details, that suppose any uh, each and every detail of each and every person from the village should be collected, and that database should be created through geoinformatics. For all this work, I have used Quantum GIS software, and uh, to some extent I am very happy that I could create the data set of cadastral parcels, but I am unhappy because I couldn't complete the entire project, because there is need of cooperation from local government and from the Talati office. Now I will talk on how we can use these socio-economic details for the decision making. Suppose there is a circular from the government of Maharashtra, and they are asking for the information of widows whose age is more than 60. In that case, we will use the information of personal information, that is gender is the female. We may perform multiple queries. Gender is equal to female, and marital status is widow, and date of birth is dash dash dash. It means on which date we will determine the date for 60 years. Before the persons born before that will be included in 60 years, and after they may not be included above 60 years. That information we can use. That's why I recommended here that we need to collect personal information, we need to collect social information, we need to collect economic information, and we need to collect health information. As on date, there may not be a village with all these details for decision making purpose, but I hope in future definitely every village have detailed geodatabase of cadastral parcels as well as socio-economic information. Now I would like to conclude that geoinformatics is an important tool for the decision making and smooth functioning of the governance. Rural information system is an influential tool for the village, and it can be developed and modified as per the local need. It reduces rate of corruption at micro level and helps for proper assistance in the emergency. Thank you. Once again, I extend my sincere thanks to other organizers for giving me an opportunity to share my views in the area of geoinformatics for cadastral mapping and for decision making, that is good governance. If you have any queries, kindly ask me. I will try to answer your questions. You can ask your questions in comment box also. Thank you.